written these poems I'm going to do tonight quite recently. I've been thinking back to the time when I, to my shame, lived in Bangladesh as the wife of an expatriate who worked for Shell. We were filthy rich by local standards. We had a house with 7 bathrooms. There were only 2 of us. Five men looked after us. We weren't allowed to drive. We weren't allowed to shop. We weren't allowed to cook. And I spent my time on the roof. We were on a hill. Everybody who was anybody lived on a hill because then you didn't get flooded out. And I spent my time on the roof painting the view. And this poem is sort of based on me. It's called MEMSAHIB. There are 5 lakes, 3 farms, the railway track, blue hills far away, and torn banana leaves down in the valley where Mohammed lives, my gentle gardener, a silent man. Each day he brings me hibiscus, sweeps the dust from garden paths, meticulous, clean, calm. On this roof in my isolated calm, I watch the trains go rattling on the tracks, purple lotus on the lakes that once were dust. The women with their bellied water jars, the leaves are rafts of green. I watch the little lives of children in the valley, like a god surveying men. Men plod behind their ancient ploughs, their lives dependent on a bony buffalo, calm, yoked to sow the rice in shallow paddies. Men whose days and seasons I from my roof can track, as monsoon follows drought and typhoon leaves annual destruction in the dust. I am an alien in this land of flood and dust. I cannot grasp the nuances of lives more fragile than the ripped banana leaves in the grove where the gentle gardener, strong and calm, works for me. He brings me hibiscus, grown beside the tracks, walked by beggars, women, journeymen. The alien's a wanderer. She must go with her man, return to where she came from, leave the dust and dirt, back to the complex city, to narrower divisions, broader tracks, back to the world of family and working lives, lose what she's found in this place of unreal calm. She packs and cries the day before they leave. He comes to the echoing house before she leaves, brings her hibiscus red as menstrual blood, a man proud, his brown eyes warm, no longer calm, his hands and feet clothed in the fertile dust, so that I caught my breath, almost forgot our lives must always run along 2 different tracks. The moment hung between them like the dust, until they stepped away, back into their real lives. She, MEMSAHIB, he, Mohammed, from the poor side of the tracks. This is an incident that didn't happen to me. There were only 50 families in Chittagong where I was living. Sorry, there were only 50 foreign families in Chittagong when I was living there. It was about 1984. All different nationalities. I think there was one other household that was British, and he was a single man. And there were lots of little scandals. It was like living in a very small village, but it was a city of 8 million people, but none of them knew us. We didn't know any of them, except our cooks, our bearers, our chauffeurs, our night guards, chowkidars, and our gardeners. So, this is called Nightmare in Bangladesh. It might need explaining afterwards, see if you can get the story. The night guard sleeps, his rifle across his grey knees. He stirs in his rattan chair. Heavy beetles lumber by on dark, inadequate wings. The frangipani blooms thicken the hot night air. Behind the spiked gate there's little rest, but she has not yet found him. The bearer has not yet been awakened. The cook has not yet telephoned the police. The thin brows of the men in cheap khaki have not yet drawn together in suspicion and outrage. They sleep beside their wives. The geckos dart and gulp. The garden rustles secretly. The rats pause to sniff the light air on their busy missions to the kitchens. Later, she will tell them about the man who brought her here, of his impotence, his insomnia. She was reading, we hear, on the veranda when the night flashed the news. No, she did not set the wires, flip the switch, see his narrow frame convulse, twitch, in travesty of climax. The servants in their narrow beds turn and dream of far-off families and mistresses they will embrace tomorrow. The expats lie awake in chilly aircon or dream of fortunes spent in Bangkok, Christmases in Bournemouth, or long-dead relatives. What does the Chopidar dream? His rifle wakes him, clatters on the stones, as MEMSAHIB runs out screaming, her nightmare only just begun. Any idea what happened? Autoerotic killing could have been a suicide or an accidental suicide, and the poor wife of about 6 weeks, she was threatened with being tried for murder. She was finally deported, but it was a horrible incident.
You should say, do not attempt this at home, children.
No, he wired himself up to the light bulb, to the light socket, and the electricity there is awful. It spikes all the time. You're always getting light bulbs exploding, and this time it exploded him.
Oh, God. So, even in a city of many, many more families, that would have got around.
Probably. Oh yes, it was big news because the local police.
So she got away with murder, seeing as she didn't do it.
Well, who knows if she did it or not? Nobody ever found out. Maybe she flipped her own lid. Anyway,
she worked for the ESB.
No. Have I got time for something else?
Yeah. Okay. One more.
This is okay. I'm going to go on with the serious ones, the story ones. This is our Christmas, our first Christmas from Bangladesh. We weren't allowed to go home, so we had to have it somewhere locally. It's called Christmas in Nepal, 1984. We discovered Kathmandu that Christmas, a dusty rainbow place set in a ring of mountain peaks hovering above the dirty mist. Limp, brilliant banners rearing over temples, palaces, hovels, stalls. Ganesh on every corner, almost every stone. In a temple garden, a family of pups. The runt not yet quite dead. No humane killing here in Kathmandu. On Christmas Eve, we flew to higher up ground, walked the hills. The air was crisp, azaleas bloomed beside the path, Annapurna drifted on the skyline. Our guide's smiles shone, as sun-filled as the bowl of sky. I lagged breathless behind my agile husband. That night I told him, under the million stars gleaming in the east, that unto us a child was to be born, and that was Christmas Day.